to make sure that this didn't devolve to the point where the player doesn't trust the administration or the coaching staff.
We could oversimplify it and say it's black or white. Tennessee could have paid him or not paid him, and he's gone. You could have paid him and he stays, or not pay him and he's gone. And I am perfectly fine. Again, I don't think we're going to relitigate we should have paid Nico. I don't think that's what's going to happen from here on out.
Say that now.
But I do, it's hard not to look at this and think this could have been dealt with more cleanly. Understanding that Nico's camp did not handle this well, did not handle this like professionals in this business, because they are not professionals in this business. But surely there's a way that Tennessee could have handled this a little bit more cleanly. And who knows, maybe it's a situation where if they weren't going to get what they wanted, it was always going to devolve like this. Like, that might be the case. It's not ever going to be black and white like that. But the reality is, Nico Iamaleava was not good enough to command $4 million.
Fair.
And lost in all this is you're asking for $4 million, and you're asking to totally retool the wide receiver core. And you're asking for more offensive line help because not enough has been done there. Like, I know these schools make millions on millions on millions, but we forget very quickly it's not the schools paying the players. It needs to be, and it will be at some point, but it's not. It's the money you can drum up in the collective from donors, from businesses, and what have you. So they don't have this unlimited pool of money that we assume they have because it's a big school and the TV money. They're not allowed to give the TV money to players. So that is a big hang-up for me. You wanted $4 million, and you also wanted all this other stuff. Tennessee might be able to do some of the other stuff now, ironically, because they don't have to pay you even $2.4 million of what you were going to get this year. It's clear both sides could have handled this better. Maybe it would have been past the point of no return anyway. But it's hard not to look at this and think maybe if there was somebody overseeing just this side of things and that was their job to make sure this stuff gets handled cleanly and doesn't just linger and fester, that this could have been avoided. Or if it was going to come to an end, at least come to an end a little more cleanly and not as disastrously as it was.
What are your SEC observations today?
Talking draft. How many SEC players are going to get picked tomorrow? Could break an all-time record.
Talk about it next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
How about some quick SEC trivia? Buck, the SEC holds the record for most players drafted out of one conference in one first round of an NFL draft. What is that number?
18.
15.
Okay.
15 players out of the SEC were drafted in the COVID draft in 2020, which we were just talking about during the break. I think that was the draft where Trey Wingo was quick to tell us about the most morbid story in a player's personal history, the moment after the greatest moment of his life. Do you remember that?
Oh, sure. And then I watched Isaiah Wilson's mother yank his girlfriend at the time off of his lap because she was too much in the camera shot.
Yes. Congratulations to this player, number 8 overall, to the Bengals or whoever. His dog died 2 days ago.
That's what that car crash. Yes, it's not just that the dog died. It's that the dog had cancer, was in a car crash, and the car caught on fire.
I remember how exhausted that was. Oh, my God. All right, cool it with the stories.
The 19 draft was like that, I remember, at least the television broadcast, because what people here remember the 19 draft for was the party that was on Lower Broadway.
Of course.
I didn't get it to be any part of that. I mean, I went down to the East Bank at some point to do an ESPN show with Mina and Fitzy and Golick Jr. at the time on day 3 that they were kind to invite me to be a part of. But other than that, like, I didn't get to do any of the party stuff. We were watching the television broadcast the whole time. And Trey Wingo, man, when he was at ESPN, I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was his draft producers. But they love the sob stories. And it's just heart-wrenching.
Exhausting.
Moment after moment. I'm like, I understand that a lot of professional athletes come from personal tragedy or less than fortunate circumstances that they're trying to use sports to get out of or whatever. But I mean, it was a tidal wave of sadness.
So Peter Schrager, who is now with ESPN, put out a first-round mock draft with pick predictions based on what he's hearing. With every pick, and we're going to do a whole segment on this, another NFL Draft Nugget segment coming up in the second hour. But
not Nugget.
Nuggies.
No, okay.
In this mock draft, Peter Schrager has 15 players out of the SEC, which would tie that record. Obviously, it helps to have Texas. There are multiple Texas players here. Jade Bear in the corner, Matthew Golden, the receiver, that could get selected in the first round. So we put it to a poll, over under 14.5. How many players out of the SEC get drafted in the first round? There are a couple here that could obviously fall to the second to put it under that mark and potentially get picked in the first to put it over that mark. One SEC player that Peter Schrager does not have in his first-round mock draft is Luther Burden. So if all of these guys, including James Pierce Jr., who he has 31 to the Chiefs, his last, 4 Draft picks out of the SEC. He has Shamar Stewart, the A&M edge rusher, to the Commanders. Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, to Buffalo. James Pierce to Kansas City. And that'd be a nice little spot for him opposite George Karlaftis.
Can you imagine?
And Maxwell Hairston, the Kentucky corner, at 32 to Philly. If Luther Burden were to get picked in the first round of this Peter Schrager mock, that would push it to 16 and would break that record. Another interesting question, is it so locked in that the first SEC player taken is Will Campbell? That has been one of the most prevailing assumptions of this draft. Patriots taking Will Campbell, the tackle out of LSU, at 4. Lock it in Sharpie.
The only even remote possibility that I could come up with in my head that would not see them take Will Campbell, because, again, their offensive line is horrendous, is if Mike Vrabel does a very Mike Vrabel thing and takes Ashton Jeanty 4. But even then...
Why would that be a Mike Vrabel thing?
Because he loves the run game. He loves running backs. He loves the kind of explosive playmaking ability that somebody like Ashton Jeanty brings. He loves, I think, the kind of toughness that Ashton Jeanty brings, and I think that that makes a lot of sense for somebody who's trying to build around a young quarterback, because what do you try to do around a young quarterback? You try to take as much pressure off of him as humanly possible. And if you got a back like Jeanty, who you feel like you can give volume to, who has that experience and that skill set, then I think that Mike Vrabel might do something like that.
The Mike Vrabel thing to me would be to bolster in the trenches where they so desperately need help. What good does Ashton Jeanty do the Patriots this year with nobody blocking for him?
Sure. He's just, well, I mean, that was the Derrick Henry thing, and they just kept giving it to Derrick Henry, but that's because Derrick Henry was on the roster.
Well, hopefully Vrabel learned a few lessons.
It seems to me that Will Campbell is going to be the first SEC player off the board. I struggle with, you said the record is 15,
yes,
and that Schrager has 15. I struggle to find more than 12. And that's even with somebody like, I mean, I could see James Pierce being a first-round pick, and still I'm having trouble coming up with more than, I could make the argument for 13. But that's just with Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, on the outside looking in, and guys like James Pierce, as I mentioned. Are we expecting Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas, to be a first-round pick?
Yes.
I would think so.
I think he's going to go higher than people think he's going to go.
He's got, Schrager has him at 14 to Chicago. He's got Chicago moving to 14 in a trade with the Colts to get Kelvin Banks Jr.
And Lucas and I were talking about this morning, what would be the shocking pick the Patriots could make? And we argued, could it be Mimbu? But, like, Mimbu has the same restrictions that Will Campbell has.
Well, and like, he's smaller. He's physically smaller everywhere else. It's not just the arm length.
Right. Banks is the guy who's actually built like a tackle. Banks is the guy who, if you're looking for a prototypical left tackle, that's the guy who's built like it.
Well, and so is Simmons out of Ohio State.
Right,
who
but he's got the injury concern.
Sure, but, there's plenty of teams who would take a flyer on a talented player. Hell, the Titans used to do that all the time.
We have modern medicine. That's not something that worries me. You know what I mean?
I mean, modern medicine couldn't save Caleb Farley, but there was a million.
Didn't help the Titans over the years.
Yeah, didn't help Traylon. And then there were plenty of questions about how modern the Titans' medicine actually was, as you have brought up Mike Vrabel's practice habits, having no idea what the hell that actually looked like.
I think that's where my dirt came from. That was what was left of the Vrabel rub some dirt on it pile. I don't actually think they gave me something from that big-ass dirt pile next to Nissan, which is gone now, right? Has anybody seen that thing?
No, the dirt is gone. I don't know where they put it.
It's just all concrete and steel at this point. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. So you set the over-under at what?
14.5.
I'll go under.
Yeah, I probably would too. Again, this Schrager mock has it barely sneaking in at 15, with the last 4 being SEC picks. James Pierce Jr., we know, is borderline, but so is Luther Burden, and he's not in this first-round mock draft. Maxwell Hairston is borderline. I mean, if the Eagles took him at 32, that'd be a second straight year of taking a corner in the first round. I mean, didn't they take corners in the first and second round last year?
Was Cooper DeJean a second-round pick?
He was a second-round pick.
So, I mean, both of those guys were very key pieces to their Super Bowl run last year.
Both of them were Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates.
Yeah. So 15 is the record. It will probably be under. Like, Jackson Dart would have to be a first-round pick probably for you to hit that 15 mark. James Pierce Jr. would have to be a first-round pick for the SEC to get 15. I got hung up on that Will Campbell because I have also just sort of penciled that in. But then I sit back and I say, is he really that bona fide best offensive lineman in this draft? Is it that clear cut that it's Will Campbell and everybody else that we're so sure he's going to go to the Patriots?
As a college player, yes. He's the best of them as a college player.
Because Armand Membu, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, would be next on that list.
I know he tested great, but it is indisputable to me that Will Campbell is the best collegiate offensive tackle that is in this class that will be a pro. Whether he ends up being the best pro out of that group, none of us could answer that.
And to argue like, oh, well, he might have to go to guard. He is not, in my opinion, in the same class that Skoronski was. Skoronski was someone that was probably widely thought of to be a guard. Will Campbell is someone who you will put out there and let him prove you wrong. Like you, despite having shorter arms, that doesn't mean he's got to be a guard just because he has short arms.
People made that a Vrabel thing, and then Brian Callahan came in here and said, yeah, we had him as a guard.
He's also 2 inches taller and like 15 pounds heavier, which 2 inches makes a huge difference in weight distribution.
Sure. The thing that, of course, is the whole reason that arm length matters here is because what is Myles Garrett's wingspan? What is Myles Garrett's arm length?
I think it's around a pterodactyl.
Yeah, it's because once that gets into your chest and you can't do anything with your little T-Rex 33-inch arms, you're banged as an offensive tackle. Do I have anything to give away for the dumbest thing in sports this week?
Nope.
Why?
The powers that be.
That's above even Big Boss Bert's head.
Well, it's not above as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you think it's a parallel? You think I should have something to... What do you want to give away? Like, we could give something away from your house. Your terrible couch. If
you don't like that couch?
No, not the new one, the one you're trying to get rid of, that you're complaining about being so much money to haul
I was
off.
talking about the new one.
Oh, we can't give away his. No one wants to say that thing looks so uncomfy. That looks like a pharaoh would be laid to rest on it.
My living room is not designed for you to lay around in.
Well, it's for you to lay around in. Like,
no, it's not for me to lay around in. It's for me to sit and watch my big screen TV and not, take a nap on the couch. That couch is not a napping couch.
I get the vibe you're looking for with the Egyptian thing, but
looks great.
It does. It looks good, but it looks terribly uncomfortable as well.
It's not terribly uncomfortable.
So if you would like to win,
you can't sit on it, but it's not terribly uncomfortable. I sat on it this morning while I was watching Sports Center.
Would like to win Buck Rising's old couch. Call us in with the dumbest thing in sports.
All right, what if I bought 2 tickets to the install and gave them away?
Who wants that? I don't care, man. That's more work for me. Don't do that. Let's just give the couch away. Can we just give the couch away?
It's either we give the couch away or you come to the house and take the couch away because I'm going to need your help moving that couch out of the living room at some point.
615-737-1045. Call up here to win Buck's old couch. Cat scratches included.
Also, give us the dumbest thing in sports this week coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a great resource for guys who are experiencing lower energy or may have performance issues and just chalk these things up to getting up there in age or just not feeling generally like you used to. That doesn't have to be the case. It doesn't have to be that way at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Low energy and performance issues aren't inevitable, and solutions do exist. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, no guesswork, no gimmicks, just real science and effective treatments. Generic online pills are overpriced and ineffective, so you have to beware of those online fixes. The Tennessee Men's Clinic will come up with a personalized treatment plan for you that gives multiple urologists and providers the opportunity to tailor solutions specifically to your body and to your goals. They have comprehensive men's services, including ED treatments and other options that many guys don't even know exist. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. That's right. We are one day out, the NFL Draft. Tomorrow night in Green Bay, the Titans held their official pre-draft presser Tuesday. Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, and Brian Callahan in attendance, and they made it clear the Titans will not be moving off of the number 1 pick. Borgonzi was asked at what point in the process the team decided that a trade back from 1 would not be in the cards. NBA playoffs last night. The Memphis Grizzlies now are down 2-0 in the first-round series against the Thunder as they fell 118-99 on Tuesday. The series heads to Memphis tomorrow. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Six 615-737-1045. Call in and give us the dumbest thing in sports this week. There's plenty to pick from. There's plenty to pick from in the NBA, certainly. I'm sure we're going to get to Nico Harrison at some point, but that's not where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with an article that I read in New York Magazine. Are you familiar with Will Leach?
No.
I have a lot of relatives that do that.
He's Big Boss Bird. He's got everybody wants a piece.
Oh, I thought you were making some kind of reference to like medicinal uses of leeches.
No, they just steal money.
Oh.
Just total.
Medicinal uses of leeches.
What? Like,
I don't know.
You are the dumbest smart person I've ever met.
Would have been like the 10th thing in my mind would have gone to.
Talking about Bogards, dude. They're just totally leeching. That's what I meant. I didn't mean it. I feel like I just rammed this into a wall.
You sure did. What else do you think that you think that that's not what you do every other time you open up that microphone? Take your ass to the shadows until it's your turn.
What? No, come on. I thought we were past this.
Now.
We don't have to do. I'm not going this time.
Too bad you're already there. Will Leach is a contributing sports writer for New York Magazine. And the title of this article that I believe to be the dumbest thing in sports this week is The NFL Draft is Actually Boring as Hell. Now, what I will say on the front end is I understand his principle because I've long said that the NFL Draft is basically some combination of a livestock show and a beauty pageant.
You're doing a great job ripping this article, saying you agree with it right out of the gate.
I get his perspective, but it's dumb. Because the thing that does not make the NFL Draft boring as hell is how many people's lives are changed from it each and every year. Now, what they do with those opportunities is a completely different thing. But I'll read you the first graph. People watch sports for all sorts of reasons. There's the thrill of competition, the visceral kinetic excitement of watching history unfold in real time, the wonder of watching human beings extend the limits of what is physically possible. And he goes on to say, but I have to ask a question I've been pondering my entire adult life. I ask with sincerity, curiosity, and legitimate bewilderment, why the hell does anyone watch the NFL Draft? The NFL Draft is one of the biggest events on the calendar that's not football related. It dominates. What's the average NBA playoff game rating right now? Do we have any kind of idea of the NBA playoff ratings nationally? Whatever it is, I bet the NFL Draft doubles the highest rated NBA playoff game up, if not more than that, because the draft is such a monster with so many different storylines. It's the drama and the soap opera without the actual football. That's the closest thing to football that you can get and all the different people who are involved in this and all the different coaches and all the different personalities and all the different analysis and all the different things that you assign to your football team getting better. The reason why people watch is because it's basically Christmas Day. You just have to wait. What does it take? Take about 12 hours in total for Roger Goodell and the rest of the people who will be announcing picks to go through the entirety of the 7 rounds of the NFL draft. It's football without the losing. Of course people love the NFL draft. I've never understood people who don't get that specifically. Even as I'm somebody who gets, a bit tired of the pre-draft coverage, the actual draft itself is so much fun.
So to answer your question about ratings, Adam Silver said that over the weekend, NBA weekend playoff ratings were the best in 25 years, averaging about 4.4 million viewers. The 2024 NFL Draft first-round viewership reached 12.1 million, so tripled essentially their audience.
Their best audience in 25 years. And these playoff games in the NBA have not been good other than the Clippers and the Clippers and Nuggets, but those games have been buried at 11 p.m. at night.
And also, just to complain about this dude writing, what was the publication he wrote this for?
New York Magazine.
So, New York Magazine. You would think that you would get some intellectual, thought-provoking things from New York Magazine when this would be better served as a stand-up comedian bit. Why do people like the NFL draft? That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? You could say that about literally anything. Well, why do people watch The Bachelor? That doesn't make... I don't even fathom why someone would like that.
I'm trying to place the voice you're
it's
doing.
Harry Carey. No, it's not Harry Carey. It's Will Ferrell as Harry Carey.
It's Carrie Harry, whoever you want it to be. I just think it is so stupid. If you're a writer, your job should be to make people feel introspective, not to be like, how the hell does anybody like this stuff? What a stupid article.
I read this
from a
article.
Stupid person.
Well, it's funny because he founded Deadspin, Will Leach. That's one of the best satirical sites or irreverent sites that's ever existed. Deadspin, it's in its original version, not what it's become now. I read this article, Lucas, and I felt the way that you feel when I get to bitching about, things that go on with my job when anybody else in the world would kill to cover an NFL team for a living or something like that. I saw myself in Will Leach and I didn't like what I saw. So it's my dumbest thing in sports this week.
Well, the article, it seems like, achieved its intended goal.
Yeah.
If its goal was to piss a bunch of people off, they did it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, well, anybody that wants to say something about this about to get their quote tweet out. Everybody go ahead and get your quote tweet out.
It's just a bunch of shut up nerd in the comment section.
Yep.
He deserved it.
Pretty much.
What's your dumbest thing in sports this week?
My dumbest thing in sports this week is a statement about this Tennessee football situation around Nico Iamaleava. What was the name of the 247 sports analyst, Robert? Smoke Dixon?
Smoke Dixon.
Which is just an elite name.
Are we sure that's not you getting got by the chat again?
No,
that sounds suspicious.
It's Gerald Dixon, but he goes by Smoke. I mean, he played at Alabama. He
should
played
really
in the NFL.
Think about a different nickname.
No, it's an elite name. He played at South Carolina, excuse me. But he played in the NFL as well. Either way, he's an analyst for...
Smoke Monday is an elite name. Smoke Dixon sounds like a sexual act.
What happened to that Cavassier cat?
Oh, Cavassier Smoke?
Dude, Cavassier Smoke. What happened to all the smokes? I want the smoke.
Speaking of, DeColdis Crawford, I believe, is still in the spring portal window. I think he's still out there. So this is Smoke Dixon on 247 Sports talking about the Tennessee situation with Nico.
I mean, the Vols, they made the CFP last season with Nico. So what is their ceiling this season with Aguilar?
Oh, man, you're running right back into where Jeremy Pruitt left. In my opinion, when you don't have a quarterback that can get you to 10 wins. We're talking about the team that just lost to the national champions in the playoffs. So you're going down a level and down a step in terms of quarterback play. Irregardless of what everyone thinks about Nico's ability or how he played, or how Tennessee's offense was last year in terms of heavy run, 75th in pass or 76th in passing offense, he still was a player that defensive coordinator had to stay up late at night. Just because if he was on, Tennessee was almost unbeatable because they played great defense as well.
So he's not wrong that you're going down a level in terms of the talent profile at the quarterback position, but I think Smoke Dixon greatly is overestimating the difference between, or underestimating the difference, the gap between winning 10 games and what the Jeremy Pruitt era was at Tennessee. To say that you're going back to the Pruitt era because you're probably not going to win 10 games, I don't know, man. There was a lot going on at the Pruitt era, and none of it involved winning. So that is my dumbest thing in sports this week.
I'll take the low-hanging fruit. Nico Harrison.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. Just what a – and you know what? I will say the media there tried to give him a couple softballs, asking him why you shouldn't be fired. What have you done? Trying to give him a semblance,
That's not a softball.
I think that's a softball.
No, did you hear because I watched a good portion of this press conference. Did you hear the tone in which that question was asked? Why should you not be fired? Was the question.
Right.
That is not a softball.
But he didn't say it like that. He was like, you've been doing a lot of – he had a decent lead up to it. He didn't just say, why should – hey,
he couched it a little bit.
So-and-so, yes, he Tim couched it. So my thing is, Nico, they tried to help you out. They tried to give you a little a case to plead yours. But when he was asked about trading away Luka, I think this was damning.
I didn't know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, you know, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage. And so unfortunately we weren't able to do that, so it just continued to, you know, go on and on.
Yeah, I do know, Nico, but like envision this. What if it was that exact same team you just said, except for Luka was on it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be a good team, man?
Or just not the perpetually injured 30-plus-year-old Anthony Davis, who, by the way, there's some reporting out there. I can't remember. I can't remember who's the ESPN reporter who's been embedded with the Spurs and in the Texas area for 100 years. I can't remember. Tim McMahon, maybe? Anyway.
Is it Tim Bolton?
What?
He pronounces it Bontemps, which just is so disappointing.
I thought you had like a seizure. It's like, what are you trying to say?
No, it's Bontemps. Bon temps. Like, that's what it should be. But he says Bontemps. He's going phonetic with it.
Anyway, there's an ESPN report out there about infighting with the Mavs medical staff and how it led for Luka and Dirk Nowitzki to not have a degree of trust in them, similar to Kawhi and the Spurs with how that ended. So imagine trading then for Anthony Davis, who is perpetually injured when you have infighting going on with your medical staff. What a mess. 615-737-1045 is the number. We've got some NFL draft nuggies, not nuggets, coming up next. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a spring sales event, releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, this Saturday, April 26th. You can get a cottage package with a boat slip from just $379,900. For the first time ever, you can get a fully furnished lakefront townhome. There's private golf cart access to a new marina and resort, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pools, on-site coffee shop, and much more. Play on the lake or simply relax at the Waterfront Restaurant just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available, so enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories. Limited property release Saturday, April 26th. Visit TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give them a call, 865-408-9992 to secure your private tour. Memories begin here.
It's time for an NFL draft update with some nuggies with Lucas Panzica.
That was 2 minutes long.
You need to
No, it wasn't.
recalibrate time in your head.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not.
nuts,
It's not
dude.
in my head. It's on my phone screen. That was 2 minutes.
Something's wrong with your phone.
Explain it again with those nuggies.
I sure will, Coach Reed. Now, Peter Schrager of
Don't laugh
ESPN
at that. That's a terrible joke.
has put out a first-round mock draft. He is predicting these picks with actual information to back it up, not just assigning names to players. We'll get the Titans pick out of the way. Of course, it's Cam Ward. He says Ward has aced this process, and the Titans brass is quite excited about not only the player, but the person and leader that they are getting. It's a new day in Tennessee. I would add, I'd encourage folks to go back and listen to Josh Pate's multiple segments with us yesterday, an hour or two, where he gave us some untold stories about Cam Ward's balance of dog and dudeness. And
That was not
there
his
was some
analysis.
Really good, pretty sure that's what he said.
Not
But some
even
really good stuff in there.
remotely close.
So he's got Travis Hunter to the Browns at 2. And he reiterates that there are a few teams that have been making calls to get up to number 2. He said, we might hear more of this in the next 24 hours. So sounds like Travis Hunter's the pick. I wonder how serious this gets. The idea of a team trading up to number 2 and Cleveland moving back.
If you move back and you take Abdul Carter, are you an appreciably better football team? So what makes the Cleveland Browns a better football team? Travis Hunter, who for them is a wide receiver, and who would be wide receiver 2 to Jerry Jeudy, and who has the potential to be wide receiver 1. I think he would be, if he was refined, he would be the best wide receiver prospect. He may still be the best wide receiver prospect in the class. Or Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett. Because in theory, Travis Hunter plays wide receiver. He wants to get paid like a wide receiver because you make more money there, even though I think most talent evaluators see his best position as corner. But what if there's an injury to, what's their top corner's name, Robert? Denzel Ward?
Correct.
If Denzel Ward, who's had some injuries throughout the course of his career, misses some snaps, and you can throw Travis Hunter out there on defense without playing him full time there, doesn't that help you in more ways than one?
I'm so fascinated. I hope the Browns do that because I believe they're the only team in position to draft Hunter that would approach it that way. It's been laid out by a lot of people like this. Major on offense, minor on defense. We've never seen that before, ever. We've never seen a full-time receiver play situationally at corner. There's been rare instances of full-time defensive backs helping on offense or on special teams. We've never seen it the other way around. So I'm fascinated. I hope Travis Hunter goes to Cleveland just to watch that experiment play out. Schrager seems pretty confident that Abdul Carter is the pick for the Giants. He says the Giants passed on Micah Parsons in 2021, instead trading down and taking Kadarius Toney. That did not work out.
Ugh.
He says, I can't see them passing on
Was that Joe Shane?
Oh, it couldn't have been. When was Toney? What was that, 2019? No, later than that. 2020, 21?
I think.
Shane took over in 22. No, it couldn't have been. I don't think
Are you
Toney
sure?
was that late. He was a 2021 draft pick.
Okay, so that
Yeah,
was still
first round.
Dave Football Gettleman.
Yes. So they will not pass up on the opportunity, he says, on taking another star pass rusher from Penn State. He's got Will Campbell to the Patriots like we talked about. Here's where it gets interesting from Peter Schrager. The Jacksonville Jaguars. It has been very commonly mocked that they would take Mason Graham. There, the defensive lineman out of Michigan. He has Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise, mocked to Jacksonville. He says general manager James Gladstone won't be timid in his debut draft, and new coach Liam Cohen is an offensive mastermind looking for playmakers. Genty is everything that they could ever want in a first pick. So, does the NFL draft start with the 5th pick?
Let's hear from Ari Myrov on this subject.
All right, this is one where I have not seen many mocks doing this. It's one of the most mysterious teams that there is out there. I'm going to have them going with Arizona wide receiver Ted McMillan. That's right, a player who some people have outside the top 10. I've seen him in the 20s. I think, first of all, the Jaguars are a serious trade down team potentially. They would do it if the right offer came along. But the Jaguars are really a team that nobody's been able to figure out. I've seen for a long time many people pegging them with Mason Graham, the Michigan defensive tackle, and it kind of makes sense because that is a need for this team. But I've heard Mason Graham is a really great talent, but a player that some people in the analytics community are not very high on. I think the Jaguars are a heavy analytics team, so I do not see them taking Mason Graham. Here's why I went with Ted McMillan. Liam Cohen, their new head coach, he had Mike Evans in Tampa Bay, a big body receiver. He, of course, also had Chris Godwin alongside with him. Trevor Lawrence back in college, his success when he was there was with two big body receivers. That was T. Higgins, and that was, of course, Justin Ross. Those are just two big body guys. That's where he had all the success there at Clemson. And you look at Ted McMillan, this is a 6'4" guy, 213 pounds. You put him there with Brian Thomas, and now you have your nucleus for the next 5 years. That is going to be what Liam Cohen had with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That is essentially going to be the T. Higgins for what Trevor Lawrence had at Clemson. That is why I'm going to go with Ted McMillan here at number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've not seen many mocks doing this. I know there are many people in the draft community. Some people who like him, some people who don't like him, some people who question the effort.
Offensive skill player, basically. Could be Genty, could be McMillan, could be a wide receiver TBD.
Which of those players that was alleged, so Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Ted McMillan, which of those makes the Jags the best team they could be right now, in y'all's opinion?
I don't love Ted McMillan, but I'm inclined to say that Ted McMillan would give Trevor Lawrence the best opportunity to succeed.
What is their wide receiver room made up of if Ted McMillan joins it? He joins, obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. Christian Kirk is out the door.
The Jacksonville Jaguars depth chart at wide receiver is Brian Thomas Jr., Diami Brown, who signed there in free agency, and Parker Washington is their slot receiver.
Yeah, they need a receiver.
They've also got Gabe Davis, who they spent a lot of money on 2 free agency periods.
Yeah, but
he hasn't done anything.
Right. He's been relegated now because of the 2 additions that they've made. They've got somebody named Joshua Cephas.
Brother of Quentin Cephas, who was a wide receiver for the Lions a couple years back.
Wasn't he suspended for gambling?
He was. Great. Look at the big brain on Lucas.
Memorable name.
And Austin Trammell, or Trammell, however you say it. So their wide receiver core is weaker than their running back room, which still has Travis Etienne, which still has Tank Bigsby, who are both fine players. Etienne, I think, is in a contract year.
I believe his 5th-year option's up, but I would have to check on that. But another playmaker that they are without is Evan Ingram.
I was about to say that. Would it be so crazy? I mean, I saw someone in the F&M Bank chat, Eric, saying Tyler Warren makes the Jags better.
It'd be Loveland.
Really?
He's the better tight end.
Really?
Indisputably.
Indisputably.
Bird, am I off on this? That Penn State offense was manufactured for Tyler Warren. He's productive, but Loveland's the better player.
It is. I wouldn't say indisputable. I would argue that Loveland has a better body built to play the traditional tight end sense, and I think Tyler Warren can give you something a little extra at tight end. The end arounds, like what you were talking about, the manufactured touches, I don't disagree with that, but it would be tough for me to say one is unequivocally better than the other one.
Peter Schrager mocks Tyler Warren to the Jets at 7 and says, I've been hearing Warren to the Jets for weeks. This might seem early for a tight end, but in this draft, teams should just take their guy where they can get him. In Warren's case, the new regime can turn to its owner, fans, and locker room and say, this is what we're about. He has Colston Loveland going to the Colts at 10. He has the Colts trading with the Bears and going to 10 to take Loveland.
I want to see Ashton Genty in Chicago. There's no way he makes it to 10.
No, that'd be shocking.
What else you got?
Speaking of the Mike Evans, Ted McMillan connection that Ari Myrov drew, and that's why he's mocking Ted McMillan to the Jags to go play for Liam Cohen, Peter Schrager has Ted McMillan going 19 to the Bucs because of the same reasoning. He says the Bucs love Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan is coming off a solid rookie year. McMillan would be the perfect student for the veterans to teach. But more interesting than just Ted McMillan to the Bucs, That's his first receiver off the board, not named Travis Hunter. Could we go all the way to pick 19?
Yes.
Before a receiver that is not Travis Hunter gets drafted?
Yes.
He's got McMillan.
This year, yes.
He's got McMillan 19 to the Bucks, Egbuka 20 to the Broncos. In the blurb, he says, bar none, Egbuka is the most universally well-liked prospect in this draft. Smart, reliable, and sure-handed. He could be a 10-year captain somewhere and is most often compared to fellow Buckeyes legend Terry McLaurin. If he's the most universally well-liked prospect in this draft, how has that guy fallen to 20 is my question, when there's plenty of teams that could use a receiver.
Because he's not top-end talented. There's not a talent ceiling that would indicate. Again, you're doing the thing that NFL teams don't do. You're doing production over potential. And the first round is it's not all about potential. Obviously, you would like for the potential, the talented players who have potential to also have been productive college players. But if you had to weight potential versus production in the first round specifically, I think teams are taking potential 9 times out of 10.
It would also be tough for me to wait until 19 to see a receiver come off the board. Like, there's too many teams that I think could convince themselves that they are getting a falling star if one was to go that far.
Because it only takes one team to think, oh, there's my guy, and then the rest of the teams will say, oh, well, we thought we'd have more time before these wide receivers started to come off the board.
100%. Dallas at 12 to me seems like if Tet is there, that would seem like a slam dunk. Matthew Golden has been mocked to them ruthlessly this offseason, so him at 12 also wouldn't surprise me. But there's a plethora of teams in the teens that I think could say, you know what, hell with it. We're not going to take a daggum running back. We're not going to take Omarion Hampton or Loveland. We're going to take a wide receiver here.
Peter Schrager projects a trade at the 26th pick, where the L.A. Rams are currently slotted. He says in this deal, the Giants would send picks 34 and 99 to L.A. to move up to 26, and New York would get to keep its original third rounder, and the Giants would move back into the first round to take Jackson Dart. Peter Schrager says if the draft falls this way, I think the Rams would be okay with this. They don't currently have a second rounder, but if they agreed to this deal, they would have 4 picks on day 2. I think the Giants would pounce on Dart. I'm just not 100% certain. That'd be an interesting twist. The Giants moving back into the first round.
Mention that Shador's off the board.
Yes, Shador Sanders in this case is mocked to the Steelers at 21. He says, I know Sanders had a good meeting in Pittsburgh a few weeks back. I also know the Steelers still don't have a quarterback on their roster. Damn, Mason Rudolph catching a stray. This might be viewed as a slip down the board for Sanders. He could go anywhere from 3 to the Giants to the second round.
I think he's got like minus 150 odds to be a second round pick.
Last I saw it was even odds.
That's still crazy. Even if he ends up being the third best quarterback prospect.
There's no player with a wider range on where he could get selected, right? Shador Sanders from 3 to second round. I mean, no player has that range.
Yeah. I especially no quarterback has that range. He'd have to play though.
He'd have to start day 1. Wouldn't it be a Tomlin thing to start Mason Rudolph, just keep the ship afloat?
Yeah, but when that doesn't go well, or when DK Metcalf or George Pickens has a meltdown because Mason Rudolph is respectfully who Mason Rudolph is, and you have the pressure of Sanders, Deion Sanders, Shador Sanders sitting on your bench. I know Mike Tomlin seems impervious to all things that would disrupt a lesser man or a lesser coach. But I don't know, man. If you're drafting him in the first round, he's going to have to play at some point, and he's not ready. He may end up just being a backup, Shador, for all we know. But a first-round pick on a quarterback, I just don't think they're going to take him. I think they'd rather trade. That reopens the door about a Kirk Cousins trade. Like, I think Pittsburgh would so much rather do that than rely on a quarterback room of Shador Sanders, Mason Rudolph, and Skylar Thompson.
Well, Shador would have to fall past the number 9 pick for that to happen. Peter Schrager does not have the Saints going quarterback at 9. He's got them kind of starting the run on edge rushers, taking
defensive players. Yeah.
Michael Williams, yeah. Now he has Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, going to Carolina at 8. He's got Michael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia, going to New Orleans at 9. He says, I don't see Shedeur Sanders as the pick here, despite all the assumptions when the Derek Carr injury news trickled out earlier this month. In parentheses, he says, does anybody actually know what the story is there? Instead, he sees the Saints with one of the early wow picks of round 1, grabbing an elite defender who will carry the torch from Cameron Jordan for the next decade.
Yeah, why is that a wow pick? Just because of the Derek Carr thing?
Michael Williams going 9, you don't think is a wow pick?
No, the Saints defense is old and slow.
The Derek Carr thing is one of the most under-discussed things happening in the NFL right now, where you look over and there just seems to be this growing feeling in New Orleans that Carr's not really that injured and he doesn't want to get Kirk Cousins, and he's kind of putting himself in a position to avoid that situation because, like, this injury, this shoulder just popped up like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I might not be available for the entire 2025 season.
I may just need some surgery.
Just discovering that in April.
Just a little shoulder surgery.
So
nothing to see here.
Eyebrows are being raised at the Derek Carr thing going on in New Orleans, and then they take Michael Williams or anybody that's not a quarterback. Say, oh, I'm good. Oh, wow. Oh, it feels good now.
I was talking to this Jason Fitz about this because we did Fox Sports Radio earlier in the week. He's hosting Yahoo's live draft coverage. They're going to live stream, I guess, every round with like our buddy Nate Tice and Charles Robinson, who does reporting for them, Jory Epstein, Charles McDonald. Fitzy said that Charles McDonald's reporting has been consistent, that they are not going offense, that they are going defense because Kellen Moore is comfortable with the idea of potentially being a bad, or at least the Saints organization, maybe not specifically Kellen Moore, but is comfortable with riding it out, putting together a better football team, and then getting a better pick in 2026.
So ride it out with Derek Carr. But what if he actually is hurt?
Spencer Rattler, come on down. What's the other one's name? The one that took those modeling pictures? I'm blanking on it.
I have no idea.
He got benched.
Jake Hayner.
Tulane? Was it Tulane?
That's
no.
right.
I don't think that.
Think
was
that.
right. No, that was
sure?
Michael Pratt.
Fresno State. He was
Fresno State. Those your nuggies?
Those are my nuggies.
Very
Good nuggies.
Very tasty.
You know, it's there's just shrapnel of your actual chicken nuggies that you left in front of you. Both. It's just such a sinister laugh when he talks about the way that he eats food. Arkansas trying to take a stand in the NIL game. What's that mean? Find out next. Huge announcement from Two Rivers Ford. It's employee pricing for everyone. That's right. You pay what they pay on almost every new Ford on the lot. This is one of the great ways that Two Rivers Ford keeps their customer service reputation intact, just as they have for the past 40 years, 40 plus years. Two Rivers Ford always goes above and beyond to make the car buying process fast, easy, and more fun. Two Rivers Ford is the South's most trusted Ford dealer for a reason, and what you see is always what you get. They don't do things like add expensive accessories or tack on service packages to increase the price of the vehicle. They are upfront and honest every single time, and now they are offering you employee pricing. From America, for America, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is how you get in. There's an interesting situation going on at Arkansas that is related to the Nico Iamaleava story because Madden Iamaleava has also transferred to UCLA. We'll give you that here in just a second. We got some phone calls to take in the meantime. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's go to Scott, who's calling us from New Jersey. We're in New Jersey, Scott.
What's up, fellas?
Hey.
Jersey Shore, not like a TV show.
Okay, love to see it. I'm familiar with Wildwood, Cape May. Used to spend a lot of time up there.
Absolutely. So we've been talking a lot about, what if quarterback falls out into round two? Be a good scenario for us to trade back. I think I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. What if the opposite? What if some of this smoke behind, all three or four of these quarterbacks going in round one, and now, someone at the top of round two is looking around, figuring out their quarterback situation? Is that something where, Levis becomes more appealing to a team that, we can maybe jump up in the third round? Obviously, we're not going to get that pick 1-for-1, but, we have 2 fourths, package that with Levis and get a third rounder that we desperately need. So I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks for the call. We actually have, would you describe it as awkward? It felt a bit awkward. Mike Borgonzi was asked about Will Levis yesterday. This was the new Titans general manager about the current quarterback situation.
Hang on 1 second. I got to kill this sick beat.
That's such a good song.
Wait, I tried to play it at the exact
Can we play it over the beat?
No, hypothetically, yeah.
I feel like maybe add a little flair.
It's not the same.
Yeah, not quite.
Not the same.
That accent on that specific song does not work.
We could make that a thing with Borgonzi's bars, and every time Mike Borgonzi says something, we just play it over a beat.
Okay, your last monikers or whatever you want to call them, turn of phrase that we're using for a general manager probably got him fired.
Rand's Bargans,
and then he spent $228 million and got canned. You did that. The two of you got him fired.
Rand's Bargans got him canned?
You hid a chef's hat under his seat so that he could become a meme for all time when the cooking went south. And you, with Rand's Bargans, and then he turns around in an offseason, spends more money than God on a wide receiver that worked out, a center that got hurt, a corner that's allegedly shooting up stationary cars in a Houston parking lot.
You can build around some of those draft picks from last year, though.
God.
Chef Gordon Ramsay ended up being my favorite one of those.
I didn't put the hat on his head. I just gave it to him.
You may as well have. You may as well have fired him the moment you put that hat on his head.
You were so upset in the moment at the amount of clout and
get him some duct tape now.
Yeah, how many
That's
people
what he was
looked at that
screaming at the
picture.
install.
Oh, me? Yeah, no, I don't care. But I'm sure he does.
Here was Mike Borgonzi talking about Will Levis.
Thank you.
Yeah, Will is, a quarterback, in our room. And, he's still developing. He's a young quarterback. He's had some good moments. And like any other young quarterback, they're continuing to develop.
He is a quarterback, and he is in the room.
Yeah, but the amount of stuttering and sputtering around, make sure you don't say anything awful about Will Levis.
It's a fact.
He's got arms on either side.
Are we sure?
He's still got 2 legs.
Maybe that was the problem. God knows he tried to lose a limb for as many times as he'd just throw himself out of bounds and, potentially break a member of the chain gang. Not potentially did break a member of the chain gang's leg.
The first part of this audio is just so funny to me.
Play it again.
Will is, a quarterback, in our room.
Yep. Will is definitely has a nose, 2 ears, breathing.
All facts.
Oh, so to answer the caller's question, does a quarterback run early in the draft make the idea of moving Levis in the draft more appealing?
What defines a quarterback run? How many quarterbacks have to fly off the board in the first round for it to say, "Oh, there's a run happening"?
Oh, 4. I mean, his
4.
His hypothetical was 4.
So that would be
Milroe in no particular order. Well, I guess we can order them. Let's say Ward, Sanders, Dart, Milroe.
Milroe / Shuck.
Tyler Shuck not going to be a first-round pick. Surely not. He's old and he's hurt.
Who knows, man?
I feel pretty confident about that, but we'll see. So let's just say 4. But even then, Would you rather take a chance on Tyler Shuck, who you don't know what he's going to be in the league, or would you rather give up draft capital for Will Levis, who you certainly can't trust as a starter, and you probably couldn't trust as a backup right out of the gate either?
I don't think you can hinge any hopes on Levis being a legitimate piece that could sway any draft one way or any trade one way or another.
Schefter put that thing in his draft intel report about Traylon Burks and Will Levis may be available. Yeah. You think they can't get them off the roster fast enough, the two of them? Nobody, but the thing that report fails to mention is that everybody else knows what the Traylon Burks and Will Levis experience is too around the league. So no, I just can't envision a scenario in which either of those players gets moved during the draft. It makes no sense. If I was another team and had a remote interest, and let's just make it Levis, I would let the dust settle from the draft, see what I've got and what I don't have before I offer a team like the Titans a 7th-round pick, just so you don't have to cut him, guys. Sure, we'll take his rookie contract on, so you don't have to cut him and eat. What would they have to eat? $4 million? Something like that? I'll look up Levis's rookie deal.
Nico's like, give it to me.
Nico Oyumale.
Did someone say $4 million?
He does not sound like Mickey Mouse. Why did you make him Mickey Mouse? He's like 7 inches taller than you.
Give it to me.
Idiot. Keep it moving. You keep it moving. You did it. Shut up back there. 615.
That was so good.
737-1045. O is in Franklin Neck.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
We're fine, I guess.
Hey, had this for you. Just wanted to say this to Lucas. Since he did a poem to woo back Will Levis and get back on his good side, what are you going to do for Cam Ward when they draft him about the chicken finger fiasco?
Oh, well, I don't know that he is a chicken tender guy. But if Cam Ward, remember we talked about this. The Titans took Cam Ward out to dinner at a lovely Italian restaurant. What was it in Miami? What was
Carbone?
Right. So I said part of my evaluation for Cam Ward, I wanted to know what he ordered at the restaurant. It's part of the evaluation process. If Mike Borgonzi got the carbonara and Brian Callahan got the vodka pasta and Cam Ward got chicken tenders, then I have serious questions about his decision-making. But we don't know that to be the case. So, I'll refrain from any opinions on that. I love Cam Ward as a quarterback, as a leader. He was productive at every level that he played at. But
if he's bad? What if he's bad? How quickly will you turn? Just the way you turn. Levis didn't even give you that.
I never liked him.
Gave you one game against the Falcons. I had somebody with the Falcons tell me at owners' meetings, sitting at the seafood bar in the what's the name of the hotel? The Breakers Hotel. You guys got so damn lucky. He just hit some wide open throws that would never have happened in a normal NFL game. Just still stewing about the fact that the one good game that Will Levis had came against their team at the time. Very bitter about it. Made me laugh.
Could you please ask Cam Ward that in his first press conference as a Tennessee Titan, what he ordered at Carbone?
You want me to do it on the Zoom call after the night that he gets drafted?
Either way.
They did that to Skoronski. The way that you did with Skoronski, where all you did is ask him fat people questions because you just assume all linemen eat like pigs.
That's not true.
That's exactly what you did.
We asked him pizza questions because he had his draft party at a pizza place.
Yeah, and he didn't want to tell people where he had his draft party because he didn't want a bunch of people showing up to the pizza place.
Yeah, there was a whole feature done on it, wasn't there? There was like an entire athletic article.
Yeah, and then you started interviewing him about pizza toppings, and you could clearly tell that he wanted nothing to do with those questions.
I think he just wanted.
Curry gave him a Buckeye.
He just wanted nothing to do with the whole situation.
It was a very strange interview that we did with a former first-round pick.
Keith on the F&M Bank chat says nothing wrong with chicken fingers. Depends.
At Carbone, you should.
There's something wrong.
Now, if you go to Joe's Stone Crab and you get the chicken fingers, apparently those are, one, the most cost-effective menu item at Joe's Stone Crab in Miami, and two, some of the best chicken fingers you've ever had in your life. So there, I will reserve judgment.
Oh, Ramon is in the chat. He's accusing me too.
You did call him Peter, big fat ass eater.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
That's not true.
You said that.
Wildly offensive.
Like, damn, dude, he's wide as hell.
Lucas said, "You seen my ass? Look at a fat ass on that one."
In another life, I could have been an O lineman, and I could have made those jokes against me.
There is 0% chance that you could. You're like 5'6",
Whoa!
What do you mean you could have been an offensive lineman?
And 3/4. The 3/4 are important.
Everybody who
was that
says
measurement done?
5'10" and a fraction is probably 5'6".
If you're doing quarters of inches, then you're definitely under 6 foot.
Lucas's height was measured at his pro day. I do not trust those measurements. He wasn't invited to the combine.
I haven't given myself enough time to talk about this Arkansas story.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
All right. We will talk about the Arkansas story later. We will talk about Brian Callahan and if he's feeling any additional pressure on getting a number 1 overall pick at quarterback for a coach that just finished 3-14. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a spring sales event, releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, Saturday, April 26th. You can get a cottage package with a boat slip for just $379,900. And for the first time ever, you can also get fully furnished lakefront townhomes. There's private golf cart access to a new marina and resort, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pools, on-site coffee shop, and much more. Play on the lake or simply relax at the waterfront restaurant just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available, so enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories. This limited property release, Saturday, April 26th. Visit TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give them a call, 865-408-9992 to secure your private tour. Memories begin here.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The NFL Draft begins tomorrow night in Green Bay. The Titans held their official pre-draft presser Tuesday. Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, and Brian Callahan all speaking, and they made it clear the Titans will not be moving off of the number 1 overall pick. It is expected to be, of course, quarterback Cam Ward. Borgonzi was asked at what point in the process the team decided that a trade would not be in the cards.
You know, it's such a long process here, and we wanted to go through the whole thing. I don't know if there was a certain point along the process, but we were listening the whole time. And then, you know, as we got towards the end of the process, you know, we decided as an organization we're going to stay.
NBA playoff action. The Grizzlies fell in Game 2 to the Thunder. They are down 2-0 in the series, and it will move to Memphis tomorrow for Game 3. Playoff action continues tonight at 6. The Magic against the Celtics. Boston leads at 1-0. The Heat at the Cavs, also at 6:30. Cleveland leads at 1-0, and the Warriors are at the Rockets. Golden State leads at 1-0. That one at 8:30. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already upon us. Pre-draft press conference concluded yesterday, and a few nuggets that came out of that. One in particular that I would like to spend a good bit of time on here in this final hour, for us anyway. Welcome back to the show. Welcome in if you're just now joining us. Lucas, Burt, and me. 615-737-1045 is the number. F&M Bank Chat is where you can live stream. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. How much pressure is Brian Callahan under? It's a fair thing to wonder. He answered a question to that effect yesterday. We'll get to that here in just a second. Because it's not lost on me that they are drafting a quarterback for a coach that, I mean, is it fair to describe him as embattled? Because he seems pretty calm about the situation. There hasn't been overwhelming friction. It's not like Vrabel, right, where bridges are being burned between Mike and the team president and Mike and Amy and Mike and J-Rob and everything else.
Embattled's too strong, but he is a head coach.
Coming off 3-14,
Coming off a 3-14 season.
That doesn't make you embattled?
I mean, was Zach Taylor embattled after year 1 in Cincinnati?
If you ask Cincinnati fans, yes.
Sure. I mean, maybe with the fan base, there seems to be alignment with that leadership. Things will change if you don't win games this year. But sure. I mean, just by nature of the record.
Season, yes. You come into this season as the coach of the worst football team in 2024 with the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. That is your expertise, that position. Having dealt with that situation before, one would expect, I think any normal person would expect that there would be more pressure on that coach in that particular situation. Brian Callahan was asked if he felt more pressure, understanding that their number 1 overall pick was likely to be spent on a quarterback, given the circumstance that he himself just went through.
Oh, no, no added pressure. I think the old adage is, you know, pressure is a bit of a privilege. You get a chance to work with a great player when you pick him at the top of the draft. So happens to be a quarterback, then that doesn't change anything for me. How I go about my job, what I do on a day-to-day basis, what I believe about the development of the position. None of that changes. It's exciting. It's what you hope for. I mean, it's what you want as a coach. Is you want those types of players on your roster. You want to coach them. You want to be a part of that journey. I've been fortunate to be a part of a few of them. It's exciting, and so there's nothing added to what already is the job. You know, that's just part of it, and I'm fully aware of the expectation that comes along with that, and I embrace it. I'm excited for that to happen.
I'm sure he is, because this is a quarterback that he has a bit more say in than his previous situation was. All right, Will Levis your guy, go make it work. And then it didn't work. In fact, it went quite the opposite. I think that a commitment to Cam Ward almost has to be a commitment to Brian Callahan. The rate of turnover in the NFL with coaches and specifically with offensive coordinators is so great that so rarely do quarterbacks get the most important thing for them, which is consistency in the scheme, consistency in the language that allows them to develop their skill, that allows them to grow their comfort level, that allows them to think less and play more freely. I can think of very few ways that the 2025 season could go sideways more than drafting Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick and not being legitimately committed to keeping Brian Callahan as the head coach. I just think you have to give that quarterback a chance. And that Brian Callahan, while, I don't know that he's Cam Ward's best chance to succeed. Cam Ward may be his own best chance to succeed. I really do believe at my core, even though I said very loudly, and I've talked to Brian Callahan about this, that I would be comfortable with them clearing house after the 2024 season, because I think you can find just about anybody to go 3-14 in professional football.
I couldn't.
Find anybody to go 3-14?
No, I couldn't.
You yourself could not?
If I was the coach, we'd be 0-17.
You don't work in professional football.
Right.
Okay, so you don't count here. And I think you would trip and fall back asswards into 3 wins.
I'm going to promise you, we'd go 0-17.
I'd like that. I'd like, I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody on the coaching staff, but I want a circumstance to arise where it's like when Vrabel got COVID and they made Stretch the head coach for a preseason game. I want to see Lucas wandering around on the sideline in ill-fitting pants with a headset on. That would delight me.
I would play for a tie every week. I want to be the first ever 0-17 team.
My point is that this quarterback needs to be given every possible opportunity to support him, and that to support him is going to be keeping a coach who is an expert in quarterback play, who is renowned for his level of knowledge about the position, having played the position himself and coached it at every level of his professional career, now as a head coach. You hired this head coach to bring you into the modern day of offense. You treated it like it was some kind of revolution, like the rest of the league hadn't been doing it for 5 to 10 years, but it's revolutionary to you, so that's fine. So you can't just bail at the first opportunity like we've talked about. If Mike Vrabel comes in here with the New England Patriots and it's an ass kicking and everybody's looking at Brian Callahan like, oh, that guy, dead man walking, right? I think you have to give Cam Ward the most opportunity to support him, and to support him is to give him stability. This is Mike Borgonzi asked not directly about keeping Brian Callahan as a means of providing stability for Cam Ward, but that was the gist of the question.
I think it's very important. Just having that environment and stability around him. Coaches, front office, I've seen it done before. So I think that's a vital process. A part of the process is to have, that environment and stability for that player. I saw it, with Andy, with Patrick, and saw how that worked. And same thing with Brian, with Joe. So I think that's a big part of it.
How critical will it be for you guys together to be able to have that if you were to select a quarterback first?
Yeah, no, I think that's very important. And, and having a plan for the quarterback as well, as we've discussed, amongst Brian and Chad, and what is the plan for the quarterback, and having stability there and creating an environment for that player to succeed is all part of it. Sometimes you have to help these players along, and that's what coaching's here for, and that's what, front office is here for, to provide an environment for them to succeed.
So, are you going to stick to that if things get rocky, as they almost certainly will for a team that is still, prior to the draft, the worst roster in football, and will be a bottom quarter of the league roster at minimum even after the draft? Are you going to stick to that commitment to stability? Patience over panic. Does that apply to the coach?
There's so much context that has to come with that commitment.
No, I know.
Though. Like, the Bengals were awful in Joe Burrow's rookie year. What'd they go, 4-2 13.
Yeah, but he also tore his ACL.
Yeah. But
one of those wins was over the Titans, by the way. Shout out Vic Beasley.
It was literally his breakout performance.
And then Vic Beasley and Jonathan Joseph got cut the very next day.
Shout out more Jadeveon Clowney.
That guy
for me
played
in that
8 games. That was 2020.
Yeah.
God, that seems like 100 years ago. Titans legends.
But Joe Burrow showed enough before he tore the ACL for you to be like, oh, yeah, no, this guy. We said it after and it wasn't new to us, especially those of us that watched him at LSU. We were like, that guy's got it, after we watched him tear up the Titans on a dreadful Bengals team. So armed with that context, the Bengals attacked the following offseason going into Burrow's second year with an eye towards maximize this guy as much as we possibly can. They did it by way of playmaker instead of offensive line.
They're probably not regretting that, but I don't know. If I'm
offensive line situation's been bad, but it's hard to say that you regret that when Jamar Chase is over here winning the Triple Crown.
Monster.
And you took him over Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
But so what type of context do we have around Cam Ward and the position that Brian Callahan put him in? Cam Ward, we believe, will be in a better position behind an offensive line than Burrow was his rookie year. I'm pretty confident in saying Cam Ward's starting 5 offensive line is better than what Joe Burrow's was his rookie year in Cincinnati.
I'm going to look up the roster.
Okay.
I don't think I would just assume that.
I mean, I'm from left to right of Dan Moore Jr., Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry. Again, there's ifs in there.
Okay, yeah, Lloyd Cushenberry is a huge if.
Sure, but the best case scenario, Titans.
Dan Moore is a huge if.
The best case scenario, Titans offensive line in 2025, and it's a low bar. I mean, I know that. It is a very low bar. But I feel pretty confident to say that the best case starting 5, if healthy, for the Titans this year is better than what Joe Burrow was behind. Hell, Burrow's offensive line was horrendous his second year in the league when they went to the Super Bowl. And it was even worse in his rookie year.
Oh, Jonah Williams at left tackle.
It was so bad.
Michael Jordan, not that Michael Jordan, at left guard. Trey Hopkins at center. Alex Redmond and Bobby Hart. Titans legend.
Bobby Hart, one of the worst offensive linemen to ever grace the NFL.
Didn't he try to smack Jeff Simmons in the tunnel at Buffalo?
It is the same Bobby Hart.
Titans legend Bobby Hart.
Yeah. Had that little kerfuffle.
Yeah, it's really bad.
The Bengals also benched a first-round pick in Billy Price to start an undrafted free agent.
I forgot they spent a first-round pick on Billy Price, the Ohio State center. He was not good.
So crazy low bar. Okay. Crazy low bar.
Quinn Spain also played in that Titans game. I remember that.
Cam Ward has an opportunity to play behind a better offensive line than Joe Burrow did. So how much will that help Cam Ward provide us the context that we need to say, okay, we feel good about Brian Callahan. We feel good about this coach enough to keep the stability with the quarterback.
I suppose we'll just have to wait and find out.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. So you got roster holes everywhere. But if I made you pick one roster hole that you would be okay with the Titans not filling in this offseason because they're not going to be able to get it all done, what would you pick? Call us. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll talk about it amongst ourselves. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We're going to get to draft needs, and which one would you be most comfortable with the Titans not being able to correct this offseason? If I made you take your pick. But I'm told that we have a surprise visitor that's just dropped into the Zoom. Who's there, Bert? Who's hanging out in the waiting room? Who's been loitering in the background of the radio show? Is it Jelly Roll? Are we muted? Maybe we're muted?
Allegedly.
The suspense is killing
Allegedly, Jelly Roll has dropped in.
Oh, my God.
Oh, there he goes. What's up, Buck?
What are you doing here?
What's up, dog? We're getting ready for the NFL draft. What do you think I'm doing here?
Well, I'm happy to see you, buddy. Where in the world are you right now?
Hold on. I'm finna show you, Papa. Hold on. You got to see this one for real.
Oh.
Like, I should have gave Stephanie my number, so if she didn't remember...
Was it? Am I supposed to hit this thing 3 times or twice? This door is crazy. 3 times or twice for the door.
We're taking a tour of the...
yeah, hold on. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. What's up, Nashville? I miss y'all. Look.
Well, he's not in Nashville.
No, sir.
Oh, my God.
I am in Los Angeles, California. I'm headlining Stagecoach this weekend, Buck.
Hell yeah, you are. You've been all over the
Country music
place.
Coachella, baby. Jelly Roll headlining the big Stagecoach, dog.
Every time, it's just, I continue to be so proud of all the things that you're doing. But every time I look up at my television, you're on. You're a resident artist or artist in residence for American Idol this year. You're performing between NCAA Final Four games. Like, how do you have the time for all this, bud?
Oh, dude, man, it's a dream, baby. It's not like I'm actually working out here or nothing, Buck. I'm just smoking pot and singing songs, man.
Amen, brother.
Hey, man, what's up, dude? I know you've been talking about it all morning probably, but are we taking Cam Ward?
Jelly, you damn well better, or I'm going to freak the hell out on Friday if I come in here and I'm talking about, respectfully to Abdul Carter, a damn pass rusher or something like that, or a wide receiver that's maybe a corner. Jelly, you've seen me get upset about things that your football team does. I will burn them down if they don't take this quarterback.
No, everybody, it seems like it's Cam Ward. Cam Ward's done everything but announce it publicly.
Oh, I mean, he's out here streaming on Fortnite. So let me ask you this, because you are a lifelong Titans fan, and I know you got a million things to do, and I know it's early there in L.A. In fact, I'm surprised to see you up during the daylight.
Me too.
You have
now, keep in mind, I'm hours behind you.
Yes, several hours behind. I'm familiar with the time zones. Yes, when is the last time you've been this excited for a draft pick, Jelly? Because I don't think the fan base has been since they took Marcus Mariota 2nd overall.
Dude, I was just thinking about this last night. Is that I think this is probably the most excited we as a fan base has been since Marcus Mariota, which obviously scares me a little bit, brings back a couple of bad memories. But I think that what I'm more excited about than anything is how excited Cam Ward seems to be about being the first-round pick and coming to the Tennessee Titans, right? It's so listen, Buck, let's talk about this for a second. Did you watch any of the footage of him and Shador training together with that coach down in Dallas?
Yes, we talked about it at great length.
So, man, it gave me a whole different perspective of Cam, right? When Shador looked at him, Shador's so charismatic. He's like, we should do a song. Cam's like, I don't do songs. I play football. And Shador's like, come on, man. We should do a video or something. Cam's like, I don't do videos. I play football.
That's right.
Shador says, you don't do nothing but play football? He said, I don't do nothing but play football. And then he stopped a second. He said, and I fish. And right then I was like, this is my guy. I'm riding with Cam Ward.
Well, and that's the thing, and we've talked to a great many people, obviously, Jelly. We've had a lot of time to talk about draft stuff since the season was kind of lost halfway through October. I have learned more about this individual than I have, I think, about any player that I'm getting ready to cover at any point in my life. And the thing that I love and the thing that I know that you will identify more than most is just how he had to earn it. That it's not your typical number 1 overall draft pick, has been this heralded prospect his entire career, that he will be the number 1 overall draft pick, but having to fight and claw and scrap to get recruited by Incarnate Word and then go from Incarnate Word to Washington State and then go to Miami after 2 years there and finish as a Heisman Trophy finalist. And now even after the college football season, still having a bit of doubt until basically the combine that this player was going to be the number 1 overall pick. That's a rare combination of things to find, that talent and that mentality.
Sounds like Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, baby. I was like, man, it reminds me of a guy I know. A little bit of an underdog there.
No doubt about it. Well, Jelly, I don't want to keep you. I know you've got a million different things going on. Absolutely crush it. I know you will at Stagecoach. Anything else you want to say to the city of Nashville?
Man, I love y'all and I miss y'all. I don't know if y'all heard the news back in the city, but the Board of Parole recommended me for a pardon yesterday. Big day in Nashville, Tennessee for the boy yesterday, Buck. I flew home just to meet with the parole board yesterday, and I was recommended for a pardon. So
that's incredible. I mean, that's something that you've had to been thinking about for a long time.
Oh man, so much, and it's going to make my international travels dramatically easier. So. Big shout out to the city and shout out to the board. I never thought I would be on the Buck Rising show shouting out the parole board, but this morning I'd like to give a big shout out to the parole board.
Well, you know what? There's a first time for everything, brother, and we hope the Stagecoach performance goes awesome, and look forward to catching up with you again soon when you're home.
I love you, Buck. Thanks for letting me call in, baby. Man, I hope to see you at the rodeo when I'm there May 30th.
Hell yeah, I'll be there. That's Jelly Roll hanging out with us all the way from beautiful, sunny, scenic Los Angeles before he hits the stage for Stagecoach this weekend.
Wait, Jelly, before you leave, save me from this place. I'll do anything. I'll be a producer for you. I'll manage your music videos. I'll do anything. Just save me, please. We can be best friends. We can hang out all day. Oh, he's gone. Dadgummit, dude. I'm tired of being here with all these poor people.
You came in too late.
I need to be saved.
What poor people?
Jelly Roll needs to save me. He got a song about that. Save me from this place.
Start doing songs. You are not going to take a Weird Al turn and start parroting. How do I say that word? Doing fake Jelly Roll songs.
Save me, Jelly Roll. Don't introduce me to him. Do not introduce me to him, because as soon as he gets a load of me, we're going to be best friends. We're going to be riding ATVs, big trucks, doing all kind of cool stuff.
The people that I actually care about, you're never going to meet.
That's not nice, man. You should let me improve my life. Let me improve my life.
I have let you improve your life substantially. You're welcome.
Your hand-me-down furniture is not improving my life.
I don't mean my hand-me-down furniture.
Don't hurt yourself now.
I'm trying my best. I feel that you owe me more than most people for improving your position in life, but that's fine. You'll have to, I can't think of what you'll have to do before I let you actually meet famous people that I care about, that I'm scared to let you meet right now.
I'll cut my hair. I'll shave my beard. Whatever you got to do. Just let me meet Jelly Roll. Let me offer him the proposition to be his new best friend.
You want to go to the rodeo on May 30th?
I'll be there.
Okay.
You ever been to a rodeo before?
Yeah, I've been to a rodeo.
Don't say hell yeah like that. Oh, let's take a poll right now. How many people in the audience thought Buck had been to a rodeo and not rodeo? Yeah, I bet you've been to rodeo.
That was the joke
That's what he thinks.
ready to make.
You're talking about.
I knew it.
You cut me off. Rodeo Drive, lovely place. Maybe we'll go to Beer Olympics. Well, I'm going to go to Beer Olympics. Maybe I'll take you this year.
What? You don't even drink beer.
Yeah, I know, but I like to go hang out.
He just likes to go for the clout.
Yeah.
I'm also a little clout demon,
You wouldn't want to go. This is not about, it's not even about that. It's just a good-ass time. Like, I hate to give LaJuan credit for anything, but he really does throw a good party. So perhaps we will take a show field trip, not to the zoo, again, because I don't think we're welcome back after the mockery that we made of all the zoo animals, but perhaps we will do the Beer Olympics as a team this year. We will see.
I do not want to be your teammate for Beer Olympics.
Well,
that sounds disastrous.
They would not allow you on a team to compete. I'm just saying that we as a unit will attend Beer Olympics.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Because we would definitely lose if Buck was on our team.
Oh, yeah. It would just be like, you'd be the weak link.
Are you kidding me? I can outdrink both of you.
You're crazy as hell.
It's not even close.
As hell.
It's not even close.
You can outdrink us with your Don Julio and sodas.
That's right.
But
I'll put you under the table.
When the beer starts flowing.
That's not. I don't even buy that. I don't think he could drink. I've spilled more liquor on the ground than you've drank in your life.
That's not true at all. I can't believe that we're bragging about this, that we're treating this as some kind of competition. But I'm a much different person now than I was when I first moved here, is what I'll say to that effect. But we don't have to get into that either.
You got to bring back the old Buck neck if you want to deal with me. I like the way your neck was shaped before. You're too thin now. Too many veins in your neck for me to believe that you could outdrink me.
Yeah, Fat Buck could, though.
Maybe. I could get down with that.
615-737-1045 is the number. if you want to get involved. All right, do we want to talk about the discussion that we were getting ready to have about needs that you would be okay with the Titans not being able to fill in this offseason? Does everybody have one? Do we want to go around the room? Do we want to open up to calls? How do we want to do this?
I was thinking about this earlier. If there is
Sounds
one,
like you've really been stressing about it with how dramatic that sigh was.
Well, there's a lot of needs. If there's one roster hole that you would be okay with getting left unfilled, I'm very conflicted in this answer, but I'm going to say tight end. I think tight end is a very important thing for a young quarterback to have. I also think the Titans can get by with what they have in the tight end room.
Boo him. That stunk. Boo. There are 3 tight ends on this roster running around right now.
I'll give you a baby boo.
You don't think tight end's a need for this team?
Well, I don't think much of the tight ends that they, as professionals, not as people. They're lovely people. Chig may be one of the coolest tight ends in the league based on his worldly travels. I'm looking forward to talking to him about his journey to Japan. But as far as production goes, Chig is not yet somebody heading into, what is this, year 3, 4? This is year 4 of Chig. Chig is not yet a reliable component. And for a rookie quarterback, you're looking for reliability. You're looking for consistency. Wiley, I don't know what to do with him just yet. So I don't think it's not a need to be grammatically incorrect with a double negative, but it's not. I don't think Titans fans are out here shouting from the rooftops that they need a tight end. I think you've copped out there.
Good. I love copping out.
Bert?
I would say wide receiver. I feel like wide receiver is something that is maybe not here, but in other places, it is easily replicatable to find someone who can fill roles. You can find people who can do more with less. I don't think that is necessarily true about edge or pass rush. It is much more difficult to generate pass rush, to generate pressure. If they were going to leave this draft without filling one of, I would say, their 2 biggest needs, one being a receiver, 2 being an edge, I would say I would be more okay with them leaving wide receiver unaddressed. Who's Cam Ward going to throw to? Well, if he's as good of a quarterback as everyone says he is, and I'm not disparaging any of that, but he will make receivers better. He will make people you've never heard of into guys that, that guy can compete. That guy can play. So for me, I would be more willing for them to go into the post-draft era or post-draft session of the offseason without addressing wide receiver. I feel like you could dip in at free agency. There are players who you could sign. You could sign a Tyler Lockett. You could sign an Amari Cooper, someone who fills the need in the immediate future and not necessarily building-wise, but you would still be able to address that after. Edge, much smaller list of people you could go to. Zadarius Smith. That's about it. I
am upset that you took wide receiver because that was mine. For the same reasons, I think that if you improve the protection, it will help the wide receivers get open in ways that they were not given the ability to go through the full process of running routes last year because the quarterback was already flat. Quarterbacks were already flat on their back by the time a wide receiver would break in to their route. I think that there are enough things around Cam Ward to survive, if not thrive. Nobody's expecting him to have an awesome season because the Titans roster is so poor. No matter what they prioritize, whether it be wide receiver, whether it be pass rush, offensive line help, because they still need depth at the offensive line. Fair to expect that 36-year-old Kevin Zeitler is not going to be a long-term solution for this football team, and that despite having significant availability as a backdrop for this offensive line group in total, I'm just assuming that they're not going to end the season with the same 5 starting offensive linemen that they started the season with due to injury.
And I would also, and this is farther down the line, but if you're talking about Super Bowl winners, Super Bowl contenders, who is the last Super Bowl winner that won because of their overwhelming wide receiver talent?
Ooh.
You could argue the Eagles last year, but I would further argue that it was the defense that smothered Kansas City and got on top of them.
Took them out of the game entirely.
You could argue Tom with Tampa, but I would argue that Tom elevated Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and made that team wholeheartedly better surrounding
And also
him.
that pass rush kicked Mahomes' ass too that year because he was down to his like third and fourth tackles, I think, by that Super Bowl.
I could argue that there would be more instances of defense or offensive line or overwhelming quarterback winning you a Super Bowl than a wide receiver. There are more opportunities to name teams who had poor wide receiver situations. Cam Newton in the Super Bowl he lost to Denver, Jericho Cotchery, a bunch of those guys. There are more teams that made it to the Super Bowl with bad wide receivers than are teams that were overwhelmingly dominant at that position.
Okay, but like we've talked about, what's more important for 2025? Putting Cam Ward in a position to grow, to succeed as much as possible, or winning as many games as possible?
Cam Ward.
Okay, so if you're to put wide receiver next to a big need like edge rusher, give me wide receiver every time, and let's figure out edge rusher down the road.
I think reasonable minds can disagree on that. I don't think it has to be wide receiver every time. I understand what you're doing there, but I don't think that it has to be the end-all, be-all. I think that if Cam Ward is frustrated as hell and he's throwing 7 touchdowns and he loses a game because his defense can't sniff a stop, then that is detrimental to Cam Ward's development.
That's more detrimental to Cam Ward's development than not having anybody to throw to?
I don't think development would necessarily be completing the pass, right? Development is seeing the field. Development is decision-making. Like, I don't know how much a good wide receiver, if the wide receiver drops the ball, that doesn't hurt Cam Ward's development. It's not like a video game where he doesn't get experience because they didn't catch the ball. Like, for me, wide receiver would be, if you were hurting his development, it would be offensive line.
Yeah.
It would be something that would prevent him from seeing the field, preventing him from seeing plays develop. A wide receiver, whether they're good or bad, is not going to prohibit that. And if anything, I think that could further his development, not saying give him a bunch of crappy wide receivers so he'll get better quicker. But in the fact of, if he has good wide receivers, sure, he might not have to figure out things for them. But if he has less than average wide receivers, he may have to take their shortcomings into consideration with things. So I don't, not all this to say, don't get him a wide receiver because he'll have to think harder. But I think there are benefits to not having a guy like that.
Get him a wide receiver if you can. But if you had to make me pick, I'm fine with them not addressing wide receiver in the draft because they can get Amari Cooper. They can get Tyler Lockett. And I would rather have a veteran wide receiver than a rookie for Cam.
Yeah, well, they need to sign somebody no matter what. But it also depends on the value that you're working with at that particular point in the draft. Later, in the later rounds of the draft, if you're between edge and receiver and value is all fairly even between the players on your board, then I would say receiver over edge. Receiver, the thing that can help your quarterback, over the thing that could bring depth to a massive position of need that might help you win a couple extra
Didn't
games.
I ask Callahan something like that his first combine? Like if I made you pick an offense, if like we did the Jamar Chase Penei Sewell thing over, but we did it here, and didn't he say something to the effect of people that catch touchdowns?
I want guys that score touchdowns.
That was
Callahan's first
year, yeah,
at the combine, with us. Now he's not drafting, so how much his input matters there, I don't know. Because, I mean, he's a part of the scouting and the consultation process, and, of course, the head coach's input matters.
Yeah, and
But it's not
Borgonzi,
the most important thing.
Borgonzi's coming from a place that hasn't, been shelling out money to receivers for whatever that's worth. I mean, how many first-round picks have the Chiefs spent on a receiver since Borgonzi's been there? Obviously, Xavier Worthy last year.
Oh, he was there for 16 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Xavier Worthy, Tyreek Hill. I would have to go back through. Was Dwayne Bowe a first-round pick out of LSU?
I think you're going way back on Dwayne Bowe. That's 2007.
I can't think of that many first-round wide receivers that the Chiefs have picked.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. So but that it also runs antithetical to Borgonzi, because what's Borgonzi's thing? Building through the trenches. And yes, they have 5 starting offensive linemen, or 4 starting offensive linemen. We'll see where Lloyd Cushenberry's at by the time it comes time to play games. But I still don't think that stops them from fortifying themselves on the offensive line or the defensive line, which makes me think, if all things were equal, that he might go trenches, not wide receiver, the way that you've indicated, even though that's where most people's logic and reason would take them. And I don't think that's wrong. Last call for phone calls, if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to get involved, you can do that. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. All right. Last call for phone calls. Last show before draft day. How about that? Very exciting stuff. We gotten calls from all over the country. We've had Vegas, we've had New Jersey, and now we go to Frank, who's in South Carolina.
L.A.?
Oh, we did it. Well, yeah, Jelly doesn't count. That's not a phone call. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in there. Frank is in South Carolina next. Hey, Frank.
Hey, guys. I appreciate it. Love the show. So I've got a hot take on what I think is going to happen tomorrow night because the vagary in which the Titans brass talk about things, like yesterday it was inferred that they're going to pick at number one and going to take Cam Ward, but why didn't they just say that if that's what they were going to do? Why not say it that way? So here's what I think is happening.
Oh, don't overthink it before you get into this tinfoil hat stuff.
No, hear him out. Hear him out.
If this was a parlay, it would be a high payout here. But Chad Brinker has an over-decade relationship with Aaron Rodgers, who has not committed to a team, has been really quiet.
Oh, God.
And, of course, the Titans have got to boost the value of that number one pick by making everybody believe they're going to take the highest-rated quarterback in the draft. But he's also the 22nd rated player in the draft by Pro Football Focus standards. So I just think that they will pick tomorrow night. It will not be at one. It will not be Cam Ward and Aaron Rodgers coming to Tennessee. Hot take.
Thank you for the call, Frank. Lucas, now how do you feel about letting him talk?
No, thank you. No, hey, we appreciate the call. I want all of the craziest conspiracy theories. I mean, you're mistaken if you think I regret taking that phone call.
That's what you get taking a call from the worst Carolina. They should have named it South. They should have named it Trash Carolina.
What's wrong with South Carolina?
Well, you've never been there, so you wouldn't know. But like, if you were going,
I'm going to Hilton Head when I leave and leave you, the two of you, to handle this golf event that I didn't want to be a part of or skip out on.
Presented by Ferguson, Monday, June 9th at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club, located in the heart of Cool Springs. This historic golf course features breathtaking panoramic views of the beautiful Middle Tennessee countryside. Purchase your team today and choose between 2 flights, 8 a.m. or 1 p.m., and spend the day teeing off with us at the 104.5 The Zone Golf Classic, made all the better for the lack of buck rising. For more info or to purchase a team, visit 1045thezone.com.
If you're looking at the differences between North and South Carolina, North Carolina, exceptional beaches, wildlife, the Outer Banks. South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. North Carolina, the Biltmore Estate, wineries, Asheville. South Carolina, south of the border, the place where rednecks go to get married. Just when you stack them up next to each other, there is no competition.
You didn't mention Hilton Head.
Well, because, okay, North Carolina has, what are those called? I'm not into all those rich people places. Resorts, golf club resorts.
I'm staying at a place called the Montage. It looks wild.
Shut up, man. I hope you get a leech down there.
Full circle.
Oh, goodness. Also, Kent points out that North Carolina has awful beaches. What I will give you...
Oh, Kent, stop it.
You know what? Because I have done several games in Charlotte in my life.
Not a beach near there.
Charlotte is not a fun city. There's not much to do. People try and compare Charlotte to Nashville. I don't understand why. It's like Nashville without the fun. And also, that stadium sucks. It's such a bad color. That Carolina Panthers blue is awful.
You and Kent can go. I'm not a big. I call them Fanthers. Keep pouting. You know, their overall phrase is keep pounding. All
Why?
They do.
I get there's a drum, but like, come on, keep pounding.
I think one of
the Steve Smith jokes write themselves.
I can't remember why, but some player said that in a big promo for them.
Okay, well that worked out.
What does Kent know about? I'm about to ban Kent for a day. You can come back after Cam Ward gets drafted. We'll see you Friday.
You don't have the power to do that.
Oh, now that you said that, I'm going to do Kent, it's Buck's fault you're getting banned from the chat.
Yeah.
You're getting a day babysitting duty, buddy. Go put your nose in the corner. And my granny called it the no-no corner.
Did we even answer that man's question?
Probably not.
All right, polls.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Jordan says the NBA fining Anthony Edwards $50,000 for saying to a Lakers fan, my blank is bigger than yours.
Richard.
Yes, my Richard is not what he said, but you get the picture.
Richard picks.
D Good says Buck not enjoying himself interviewing Hamish, the Scottish Highland cow, about the NFL draft.
Who said I didn't enjoy myself? I had a delightful day.
Yeah, it was hard not to have a great day at the zoo. Shout out to the zoo.
Even the wonderful people at the zoo, in particular Leah, who was our guide.
She was awesome
for the day. She was very skeptical of us, understandably so. I think she still is, but I sent her the video yesterday, and she was delighted by it. So we made sure to let her know that we didn't just lie to them so that we could run and play with meerkats in the exhibit.
If you talk to her again, will you ask her to return my phone calls? That would be great.
Go to the Nashville Zoo this summer. It's a great time. Also,
in fact, they've got an event coming up this weekend, as a matter of fact, that people can still get tickets for. If you want to help the Nashville Zoo fundraise for conservation, which is a critically important thing.
Sips for Species. Celebrate conservation and kick off the 2025 Sips series at Nashville's wildest springtime party Friday, April 25th. Adults only. Got to be 21 and up. But plenty of samples from some of the zoo's favorite beverage purveyors.
Somebody said that I looked miserable while at the zoo. I don't know how many times I have to explain to you people. It's just my face.
MJ says, oh, by the way, shout out to Justin Hawkins. We have not given him credit on the air.
Justin did a great job.
Producers Ramon, Kayla, and Will. J-Hawk turned around that zoo video, shot it all, dealt with us as we wasted away his afternoon. He crushed that. Go watch it on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page. Subscribe while you're there.
Almost 600 views.
Oh, my God.
G says the dumbest thing in sports this week is Buck miserably complaining about any time the Cam Ward Fortnite clip is mentioned and then excitedly bringing it up to Jelly Roll. # fake takes Buck.
Excitedly? Did we even bring it up?
I don't know, but I did enjoy how you entertained Trevor Sikkema and Mina Kimes both bringing it up on how funny and awesome that was.
Yeah, and
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I did it through a forced smile.
Fake.
I like my friends, but I don't like these dweebs on the internet. Oh my God, he said Calvin Ridley's name.
How many SEC players get drafted in the first round tomorrow? Over under 14.5. 60% take the under.
Say that again. I was reading
SEC players to go in the first round.
Under.
At what pick does the NFL draft really start? 2, 3, 5, or 6? 45.9% say 2, so most of the votes going to the Browns. 30.4%, second most to the Jags at 5. 21.8% say Giants at 3. 1.9% say Raiders at 6.
I think 5. I think the Jags are the wild card.
I agree. I'd say 5. Who knows? Maybe we get a shock trade at 2. Which roster hole are you most okay with the Titans not addressing? Kenneth says really any defensive hole. If we can come out of 2025 feeling good about the offense, it's a huge win. I'm with that, man. Brian Callahan, you want to find out what you have in him as a head coach and play caller as much as you want to find out what you have in Cam Ward. If we can go into next season saying, let's just fix this damn defense, then I think 2025 is a win for the Titans.
Okay. That's reasonable.
Brian says safety. John says tight end. 3 veteran tight ends could be available via trade or released sometime after the draft, whether it's Kittles, Mark Andrews, and Goddard. What is the latest on Mark Andrews, Bert?
None of those guys are going to get released, by the way. They've already been paid roster bonuses. If they were going to release them, they would have done it before they had to pay out those $4 or whatever $1 million. So the latest on Mark Andrews is he responded to Eric DeCosta saying that he doesn't know whether he would be on the roster or not. And he said, Eric's right. Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta is right. We don't know if I'm going to be on the Ravens, but I'm going to prepare as if I am. Basically, what he should be saying at this moment.
That's the right answer.
Okay. Jacob says he'd be okay with them not addressing edge. They are not in a great position to draft a very impactful edge without moving back up, he says.
I don't think that's true. I think you can get plenty of impactful players at 35.
Yes, but would you rather have an impactful edge rusher or an impactful wide receiver? I lean wide receiver.
I don't think those wide receivers are going to be as impactful as you're assuming they might be.
It depends who's out there, but if Luther Burden or if...
Lucas, I'll tell you the one draft hot take that I've got. I think if Luther Burden's there, they pass.
Mike says, edge. This needs to be an offensive-heavy draft. No reason not to try and see what Cam can really be and if Callahan is a good coach or not. We know Denard can coach and get the best out of guys.
I'm going to pitch a Lifetime movie right now about Luther's life. It could be called Luther's Burden. Coming to Lifetime this summer.
That's fantastic.
Buck's upset how good that is. You know it would sell.
It's just my face. Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That will do it for us today. We will get into what Cam Ward had to say at the NFL draft. Jimmy Wyatt caught up with him, so that will be the topic of discussion on primetime. And when we talk to you next year, it'll be the draft.
Go watch the zoo video.